All right, we're here. Finally, we made it to session one of what I anticipate will be 4 calls associated with the launch of the book, The Art of Encore Living: How to Find Fulfillment, Forge Meaning, and Make a Difference in the Second Half of Life. Really appreciate you all being here. Welcome, and just thank you for spending a little bit of your valuable time, attention, and energy with us here today. The table for the discussion today is I'm going to share one reflection on a process that I use with clients for kind of getting clear on what you want from the second half of life, each individually. And I also have a document that I'll share with you all after the recording uploads. Just basically 7 steps that I've used to help people get more of what they want from the second half of life after they have more clearly defined what they want, and hopefully also get there with a little bit more confidence. Hey, Jerry, welcome. After I give a very short presentation, short in Scott terms, Penny and Jeff can fill you in on what that means. I'm here for questions, reflections, comments, whatever people want to either reflect about what I'm sharing, what they've gleaned from the book so far, any questions you have. And just to set the container for this call and the subsequent calls, my hope is in the subsequent calls, we'll get into maybe some breakout rooms and some group coaching type of things where we can, I can provide some real insight, and the group can also share perspective and reflection on where you're at in your journey with defining what you want in the second half of life and the strategy you're navigating to get there. And I try to keep the boundaries and guardrails pretty simple. My guess is if you had all the answers already, you wouldn't actually be here. So to just maintain that kind of curious, open, and courageous mindset that, you're going to explore the edges of your understanding and abilities. You're going to push against the things that, some of your certainties and start to embrace some of your uncertainties, and to just have consideration for yourself as you explore the vulnerability of not knowing and not being guaranteed any outcome, but also consideration for other people that are probably also navigating in new areas. Basically, I say first practice the golden rule, treat others as you would like to be treated, and then invert the golden rule. Treat yourself the way that you treat other people. So that's basically it for the rules of engagement. The other thing, just to give you some frameworks, and Jerry here is a friend that's connected through one of the other communities here in Success Finder, the Guardian Academy. We talked there a lot about open loop, double loop, multi-loop learning. And this comes from a Harvard Business Review paper called Teaching Smart People to Learn. And I'm guessing that everyone here is a smart person. And one of the things about being a smart person is that we've been defined as smart because we have played the game of life in the first half of our life by the rules established by institutionalized education and occupation. This is, compulsory education where you are encouraged to conform to the mean, where you are encouraged to compete with each other for external rewards, grades, praise, what have you. So external instruction, external, and the reward is external praise. And then you go to work and things change. Now you're rewarded with money so you can buy stuff. And by buying stuff, you're buying status, and on and on and on. And we're rewarded for our certainties. We're rewarded for being confident, maybe even overconfident. You don't have to look too far, I think, in the news or anywhere else to see that, we live in a society that rewards hubris, that we reward people that act confident even about things that they can't possibly have any confidence about, because nothing is absolute, maybe other than death and taxes. And some people seem to be able to avoid the taxes thing. And, who knows if death is the end? I don't. So just keep loops open. If I present an idea, or if someone else presents this perspective that you know, creates a little friction or a little tension, rather than try to close the loop by Googling and trying to find the right answer, or by immediately you know, digging in on your current beliefs, just keep the loop open. Hold space for a new idea. Let it percolate. Let it cycle. The more that you keep these loops open, the more you cycle on these ideas, the better questions you'll have, and the more opportunities and possibilities for what you decide and do next there will be. And the last thing is this. We've been talking about this again at the Guardian Academy, this idea of learned helplessness. You know, we live in a society where you can buy something on Amazon when you're half asleep or half drunk in the middle of the night, and it will be shipped to your house, and you can say, what the hell is this? I don't remember buying this. And you can ship it back and get all of your money back. You have no accountability or responsibility for a lot of the decisions that you make. And of course, school gave you an exact roadmap. If you do these things, you'll get these rewards. And so what I am advocating, and what we advocate at the Guardian Academy, is to unlearn learned helplessness. Take responsibility for your thoughts, for your actions, for your choices, and maybe think about pausing and contemplating for a minute before you respond or rather react to something that doesn't really jibe with your current lived experience or what have you. I want to hold space for multiple realities, for exploration, for curiosity, consideration, courage, so that you can become the better version of yourself that you want to be in the second half of life. So am I tracking with everybody so far? Does that all sound good? Any questions about anything that I've or any reflections on anything I've shared just about setting the container? Awesome.
I think for me, what comes up is just letting go of expectations of other people and as well as ourselves. And communication is also a big one for me as well. And just keeping true to what we say to each other. Like if we're going to say that we're going to do something, and then if something happens and we're not able to follow through with that, communicate that out to somebody so that person's not left in the dark or not telling like, okay, what's going on, instead of just brushing that person off and ignoring them.
Yeah, well, I love that point, Carla, because one of the things that happens in the second half of life is everybody, when I talk about first half of life, second half of life, is everybody on tracking with what I mean by those two things? If anybody has any question, speak now. You know, the idea is that there's a great line from Kevin Ashton's book, How to Teach a Horse to Fly, where he says, trust is belief in yourself. And confidence is belief, or I'm sorry, certainty is belief in your beliefs, right? And so we've been rewarded for a long time about having belief in our beliefs. And one of the things that you're speaking to, Carla, is this thing that we call the adaptive dilemma in the Guardian Academy, that I think I am clearly articulating exactly the point I have, and I understand my motivations are pure and clear, and I am anticipating that you're going to hear and understand everything just the way I mean. And of course, that is because you have your own unique disposition, set of experiences, expectations about who I am and what my agenda might be. You might hear something very, very different. It's the adaptive dilemma, which just, and so I always like to say, you know, between intent and impact is interpretation. My interpretation, your interpretation, and they may not necessarily, but if we keep open loops and we keep the conversation going, we can reach a clearer understanding and try to close the gap on any gap in that interpretation. So I'm going to pull up a document. I'm going to share this with you later today. I better pull it up first. I also wanted to just share that there were some people that that are new to SuccessFinder that were really having trouble navigating the platform. So I'm totally willing to hold some space for leaving some time to go over that for anybody that wants to. I have until the top of this hour. We don't have to go an entire hour, but I have until the top of the next hour. Everybody can see my document here.
Mhm.
So I'm going to give you this entire document, and it's just one of the things that comes up early in the art of Encore Living is like, how do I even clarify what I really want from life when basically I've been given a roadmap to follow for the entire first half of life, and I've received some reward for following that, for following those rules. And at the same time, what happens for people that are in a conversation like this, you've had some experience with, I've done everything I'm supposed to do, and I've reaped many of the rewards I'm supposed to reap, but this pursuit of happiness hasn't really made me as happy as I expected to be, maybe even happy at all. But we have no tools for figuring out how to play a different kind of game, maybe actually playing our game instead of the game of life that was given to us by school and occupation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow you to read all this on your own later, but basically what we're here to do is to flesh out some more around this idea about how do I clarify the difference only I can make and get what I want from the second half of life. And I've kind of put together 3 things. And what I want to start off with is in the guide, in the Art of Encore Living guide, that if you haven't purchased a copy yet on Amazon, there's links where you can purchase on Amazon or purchase it directly from me if you're not an Amazon fan here in SuccessFinder. But I give you a process for identifying your core values, your 5 core values, your 5 core talents, and then argue that once you have identified your talents and values, you can start to dial in your gift. And then where you belong is with people who share your values and need your gift or talents to enhance their lives. And that's where you're going to find that sense of belonging. And it's a Venn diagram. At the center of that is where you can start to explore this thing I call the difference only you can make. You could also call it vocation. You could call it calling. You could call it your soul's purpose. In the Bhagavad Gita, it's called Dharma. So that's one way to go about it. I have 3 additional ways down below here. Again, not going to go into all that today, but what I want to do today is just focus on this part, which is reflecting on your path. And so what I call this is that you will become who you're meant to be in the second half of life by being who you have always been. You'll become who you're meant to be in the second half of life by being or reconnecting with who you've always been. So what do I mean by that? I can see, I should have taken into consideration my audience because I can see everybody squinting at my document here. That a little bit better? Again, you'll have the document. You can catch up on all that later. So what I do with clients when I'm working through this exercise is we simply, I give them a homework assignment. This is my homework assignment to you for today, if you're willing to give it a try. I want you to think back to your earliest memories, toddler memories, childhood memories, early teen memories. By the time you get into the mid and late teens, you've already been completely corrupted by institutionalized education and already getting all primed for institutionalized occupation. So, but there may be some things there too. But I want you to think about all the activities that you experienced in childhood, all the ideas you explored, all the hobbies you took part in, the athletics that you participated in. What are the things, what are the things that really lit you up, where you really felt a sense of awe and wonder and connection and flow? And what are the elements of each of those things that really, where you really felt you were tapping into something that was kind of inherent within you, something that was more innate? I'm going to just give you a kind of a quick insight into how, what this was like for me. So in my adult life, I have actually won the lottery multiple times, because I have actually felt like I was hearing and heeding the call of vocation in almost everything I've done in my adult life, with a few notable exceptions. But when I left college, I got a teaching job at a couple of teaching jobs at some fairly famous institutions. When I decided that was no longer my calling, I decided to become a professional musician, and I did that for 25 years. And not a path I would recommend to anybody, but it worked for me, and it was something I really felt lit up and a lot of fulfillment and satisfaction in. I then became a teacher, and I got to torture people like Wanda by teaching them how to play wagon wheel. Actually, that was more of a torture to me. But anyway, and then, I moved into becoming a head coach for Seth Godin, and then into my own endeavor as an Encore life coach, where I try to help people experience what I've experienced, a sense of being, doing meaningful work with and for people I care about, and finding a lot of fulfillment, a lot of peace of mind, and being able to make a decent living at it. And when I look back, to my childhood experiences, I remember things like, all the creative things. I love to color, I love to paint, I love to draw, I love to make up stories and write. I used to type out little books on my parents' typewriter and illustrate them. I created a family newspaper that I still have copies of somewhere. I had little businesses where, I had a lemonade stand where I figured out if I opened up at the crack of dawn and I caught the mail carrier and the garbage collectors, I could clear out my stock by 7 or 8 o'clock and, make a couple bucks. My friend Andy and I found some patterns for puppets in a woman's magazine my mom had, and we actually created, I don't know, 100 puppets, and we made a stage and we scripted shows. We charged admission to the neighborhood kids. My mom sold popcorn out the window, and for 2 summers we made a living as 13-year-olds putting on performances for our neighborhood. Loved to play sports, loved physical activity, and loved hiking, loved being in nature, loved just going out at the crack of dawn and not coming home until it was dark, and having no idea, like no paths, no compass, just wandering around the woods all day. So when I think about all these things, and I'm thinking about, what am I going to be doing next? What I'm looking for is a theme and a silver thread that is weaving through that, because I believe that we're born sufficient and whole, possessing everything we need to become whatever we're going to become, to step into our destiny. And we can get all woo-woo in that if you want. But when I look at all the things that I've done as an adult, I loved to teach. I love to share information. I love to explore big ideas. I love to have conversations about interesting topics, and all those things were part of my childhood. When I was a musician, I loved to entertain. I loved to make people laugh. I love to create celebrations. I love to lead, the band on stage. And, in my work as a guitar teacher, as a head coach for Seth Godin, and in my coaching now, I loved to use all of those skills to help people get get clear on where they were, where they actually wanted to be, and define a strategy for getting there as efficiently as possible. All things that I can tie to something from my childhood. So I'll just conclude this section by saying, I'm not suggesting that as you think back to your childhood, that, you know, you'll say, you know what, I really love to paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell all my worldly possessions and move to Paris to become a painter. That's probably not a great idea, maybe, but look at my friend Stephen Cope, who's on the broadcast. He's written a book called The Great Work of Your Life. It's a book about vocation based on the Bhagavad Gita. And he has a similar exercise where he's trying to use these experiences to look for where the finger of vocation is pointing. It's going to give you a hint. It's going to give you a direction. And then from there you can take, you know, and it's shared in the document. Then you want to take small steps. You want to experiment with things. You want to try things on and see if they light you up in the way that you want to be lit up in the second half of life. So that's a little riff on, you know, another way that you can approach defining what you want from the second half of life, and how you can start navigating there. There's, you know, 2 additional ones in the book that you can explore on your own, and I'm happy to open it up for general discussion or any reflections or questions about anything I just shared.
So I have a question. You said we had homework, and I think that was to look at our past. Is that just like a general, are we supposed to write or what are we supposed to do with that?
So in the book, I give you this, I had these sections called Do the Work, where I encourage you to journal or phone a friend and have a discussion. You could do a live video on Facebook. You could do an audio journal. You could do whatever it is.
Okay.
But I just encourage you to explore this idea alongside with the other exercises that are in the book, because I think it will give you more. So what we're looking for is data, like and it depends on like where you're at in this journey, like how clear are you on what you should be doing with the rest of your life. Users iPhone would like to make a suggestion about journaling, and I'm happy to have users iPhone share.
Yeah, my name's Dylan. Hey, hope y'all are doing well. I've been doing a little bit of my own journaling. It was kind of like recommended that you do it in a 30-day period, but I've kind of extended it to like 6 months because I'm not really on top of my journaling like I should be. But it's kind of just like a daily thing that you can do and kind of like recollect on the things that make you like fill you with enthusiasm. The first question is what fills you with enthusiasm. The second is what have you learned today? And the third is like what drains you from enthusiasm. So it really lets you like kind of look back on, you know, each day and see like what affects you, what, you know, gives you a little bit more energy and what kind of drains you of that. And that's really helped me kind of take a step back and realize what's important to me and stuff like that.
And are those the things that are in Scott's book, or is this something else?
I think that's a practice that Dylan got from somewhere else, but
Okay.
I love the suggestions. One of the things that I really like about Dylan, your suggestion is I have an exercise called the Zest Barometer. And throughout the course of my day and as I'm engaged in my projects, as I'm exploring what I'm going to do next, I'm checking my Zest Barometer. How excited and energized am I by the things that I'm doing? And then how exhausted and depleted am I feeling by the things that I'm doing? Now, it doesn't just mean because you had a bad day or you hit a rough patch that you want to quit. But the question that I always ask myself is, or the two questions, if I see a persistent pattern where I'm really not, you know, experiencing the amount of joy and focus and flow that I was hoping for over an extended period of time, I'll ask myself, am I doing the wrong thing or am I doing the thing wrong? And that second question is really important because a lot of times we quit doing the thing that we actually should be doing, and we might actually be right there on the edge of a breakthrough or achievement, and we stop. When we ask the second question, we might find that well, if you're me, you're just overcomplicating things. You're doing too many things and you're bringing too much and you're overthinking things. And what you need to do is get back down to what's the essential things that I need to accomplish to move this thing forward. Because if you can break through that resistance or break through that moment of, friction or doubt, you can actually find yourself on the other side of something really great. Thank you for that, Dylan. Any other questions or reflections? It was a great suggestion by Dylan. I'm open to other ideas.
Hey, Scott.
Jerry, I knew I could count on you. Go, brother.
Yeah, I mean, if I reflect back, I mean, I was born into the dairy farming industry. And, growing up, my parents were share farmers, so to speak. And my dad, when I was about 11, my dad bought his first farm. And I was the only son. And of course, that was my life mapped out for me. But when I reflect on going to school and high school, and I always rebelled.
Hold on one second, Scott. Is that your phone or is that somebody else?
No, it's not my phone.
Is that gonna? There we go. Okay.
Oh, is that you, Scott?
Oh, I'm not sure what that was. Go ahead. Continue on.
Okay.
Ah.
Yeah.
I muted myself because I thought maybe it was me. I wasn't sure.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's
Oh, that
having
happens.
a mute.
Technology. I mean, we all grew up before the internet, right? So,
Old people in technology, what could possibly go wrong? Dylan, is it possible that that's you because you're on your iPhone, even though you're muted? All right, let's try one more time.
there we go. Yeah. Yeah. So, just reflecting, back in on my life, growing up on a farm. You grew up with the rhythm of nature, right? And the rhythm of the seasons. And as you can imagine, it's a business, and you had a lot of insight into life, and you grew up, quickly. You had to look after animals, you had to calve cows, you had to assist them to calve, you had the mating cycle, you had to ensure they had enough feed, and you had responsibilities. And every night or every afternoon when I came back from school, it was get changed to go straight to the cow shed and go milk cows, so you had jobs to do. And when I got to school, it was kind of like a restriction. You were put into the school regime, and all the way through high school. And as soon as I left high school, I went to an agricultural college and became, kind of trade qualified. And that was my life until I was about early 40s. And I sold the farm, and I pretty much for the first time in my life, I got a job, full-time work for someone else. And I rebelled against that as well, and I was a really bad employee. And I engineered myself out of jobs just because of my rebellious nature. And but I got into manufacturing, and then I went into franchising. And franchising was great because, I mean, I started off as a franchisee, but unfortunately, you know, the master franchisee decided to end his life. And I put up my hand because I had all of the skill set. And I said, okay, well, I'll just take over for a while. And I was in that role for a few years. But what I discovered is that I could transition someone from being an employee to a business owner. And that was an insight into, you know, what I could actually do. I then went into adult education, you know, for a person that rebelled against education to become an educator as a flip-flop, you know. And that was probably the steepest learning curve that I've ever went through. And but again, I could transition someone that was on Social Security to someone that has got a skill set to earn $100,000 a year. And that was when I discovered that I was back in a kind of flow, back when I was dairy farming. So you're talking about flow in your life. And that was really good because my administrators were at the other end of the country, and I was up in was in the infrastructure industry, and I was based up in a classroom, 12 by 4 meters, and we had a big playground, you know, operating excavators, loaders, and dump trucks, and all sorts of things. So I was in my own world, you know, responsible again for an operation that I could determine what I kind of do every day.
Okay, looks like they caught it this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. And then, you know, so, you know, Users iPhone was talking about journaling, you know, and how do we journal? And I'm into nowadays journaling every day into what's called a pink sheet. And I'll give you an analogy of a pink sheet. You remember before the electronic invoicing, we used to have invoice books, and we had the white copy, and then we had the carbon paper underneath. Then the yellow copy was the office copy, and what remained in the book was a pink sheet. And that was a record of all of your financial transactions. And you ended up with around about 50 pages in there. But when you go back and leaf through the pages and look at every transaction, there's a story, there's a book. You could write a book about that transaction. You could create a movie around that transaction. You know, all of the memories and the emotions of that transaction come back to you. So what I'm doing every day is creating the equivalent of a pink sheet, just journaling, you know, different sectors that I can capture. And, you know, you can imagine that if you wanted to go out socially, you could put your book of pink sheets in your back pocket and you would never be short of a story, you know, and you would always never be short of a reflection. But what you can do is, what I'm doing now is creating a mechanism where I can share that methodology and empower other people to do the same thing. So, so that's a little bit of background to me and what I've been up to.
If you wanted to share your methodology with the group in the group chat, I'm sure people would love to take a look. I want to there's two things that you said, Jerry, that I want to highlight. One of the things that happens frequently with clients is they'll say, I really have no idea. Like, I know I'm not happy where I am, but I really don't know where I want to be. I don't know where I want to go. And what your story reminded me of is this, you know, I have like this practice of, when in doubt, do something. And if you bring integrity and intention to the work that's right in front of you, whatever that work is, you'll learn that the process is the reward, and that by bringing that focus and by paying attention and bringing that presence and mindfulness, you will get something from that that will help inform and inspire a better next step. What I also love about your story is we have a woman that grew up on a potato farm in upstate Maine here. And we have someone that has been a business owner for a while that probably has his fair share of collected pink sheets somewhere. So I love that. And then the second thing is just for Wanda and for other people that are thinking about, how am I going to like start to process this information? So I am not really a journaler, but I write every day because I'm posting things on social media and I'm posting things to my email list and to my blog. So I do a lot of writing. I'm a big fan of writing, and I have been a fan of journaling. Not everyone, that's not the thing that works for everyone. So if journaling is not your thing, you can try just a voice to text, like record an audio and then have that become a text that you can file away for looking at later. The other is, we have this practice in the Guardian Academy called a 6-word update. Like, when you read a chapter of The Art of Encore Living, summarize what you learned in 6 words. And that exercise can be really, really powerful, because it will give you one lesson, aha, or takeaway that you can then do something with. Everyone can remember 6 words. It might be hard to remember all the things that, I said in my little riff at the beginning. So those practices like that. But the other thing that I have found super powerful is doing this, having these conversations with people that are, on a similar journey, that have, that are navigating similar challenges, that have similar aspirations. So one of the things that I hope that we can do in subsequent calls is we'll do some small 3-person breakout rooms where people can, each have 2 minutes to reflect on a prompt, and through those discussions and having people reflect their questions and reflections back, you'll get deeper insights as well. So Scott says, no writing for me, can't read my own. I understand. My mom always tells me I should have been a doctor. Any other shares or questions or reflections? No stories about life on the potato farm, Penny? You're muted.
You don't want to go into long stories, but I was caught by what Jerry said about the work and how I never thought about it as work. It's just what you did, whether it was picking potatoes or feeding the chickens or mowing the lawn, or it was just jobs that you had because everybody had to help.
Yeah, for sure. I did landscaping at the school that I went to school to from the time I was 13 until the time I was a year or 2 out of college. And I love that. I loved pushing a mower around all day and,
Yeah.
breaking a sweat and getting a suntan, and it was great for keeping the weight off for someone that struggles with that. So yeah, nothing wrong with, there's a lot of virtues. There's virtue to any kind of work. Again, bring some integrity and intention to it, and you will learn something. You will glean some sort of insight or inspiration. Well, if nobody has any follow-ups, I just want to check in. Is this kind of conversation valuable? I'd like to, again, explore trying to do some breakout rooms next time, but did people get what they needed from this meetup, this conversation? Are you getting what you need from the book? And are there things that you would like, that you feel like you could benefit from leaning into or exploring?
Yeah, Scott, I think that it's great to be in a group that we're all the same age. you know, and it's good to reflect on our lives and where we're going forward. It's important because, you know, I'm 67 now, you know, and what I've learned through, you know, for those of you that aren't in the Guardian Academy, there's it's been it's been a lifeline for me, really, you know, to give me a new direction in life. And yeah, it's just gives me my entertainment, my yeah. It's amazing that even later in life, you can look forward to the rest of your life with a lot of hope, inspiration, everything, you know. So I think that's what we have to do, you know, for those of us that are, you know, a little bit older. For those that are younger, you know, we remember when we were 30, you know, we had so much energy, you know, and buzz, you know, and we didn't even think about getting to 60. That was too far in the future. But now that we're here, you know, we still have so much to contribute, you know, and you think about the time limits that you put on yourself. You say, okay, I've got a job to do, but if you don't put a time limit on it, it's not until the last few hours that you actually get the job done, you know. So, but if you give yourself, you know, time frames, you can certainly achieve a lot.
Yeah, Scott says now exercise is a priority for health. Scott is down in Florida and regales us all with his social media posts of walking on the beach, doing some sort of Pokemon Go thing with cryptocurrency that looks pretty fascinating. And yeah, so I'd just one final reflection, because I love Jerry's. I do think that for many of us, it's midlife is when we start exploring or when we're broken open to this idea, like maybe there's another path, maybe there's something else for me. Maybe I haven't really leveraged my unique gifts. And I think we're also thinking about legacy, like, you know, what is my life going to mean when I'm no longer here? And what I have found is that the second half of life can begin whenever you're ready to hear and heed your soul's true calling. I really believe our life is always speaking to us because it wants to speak through us. And I've been amazed to have so many people in their 20s and 30s even want to explore these ideas and explore, you know, kind of dialing in the difference only they can make so they can build something, whether it's a side hustle or a passion project on the side of their career, or something that they want to build into an entrepreneurial or freelancing enterprise because they get it, that, you know, they want to live a more complete life of meaning and fulfillment, not wait until retirement to do that. So great to have you all here. One final question. Is everyone, some of us are very familiar with the Success Finder platform, but is anybody having any difficulty navigating the platform itself? Because I'm happy to jump in and just show you how to click around. And if you're good, you're good. Wanda, you look dubious. You're muted.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I didn't see the Zoom link that initially, but yeah, and there's a lot of stuff on this platform.
There is a lot of really great content. I shared in one announcement, you know, some of the people that I follow here. So Nick Peterson is the founder of the Guardian Academy. And yes, Scott says soon to be a lot more, which is very, very true. And I binged Nick's stuff after my coach introduced me to him and his work. You know, I have the blessing of caring for my grandchild for most days, all day. And so because he's still taking these 2-hour naps, I can have him on my chest and just binge watch videos all day. So I've actually probably consumed all the content here a couple of times. But what I said in the announcement was, you know, Nick's stuff is great, Dan's stuff is great, Jeff's stuff is great, Dr. Jeff Spencer's stuff is great. We have a member here, Jake Anderson, that's building here as well, and his stuff is great. And it can become really overwhelming, and you can spend a lot of time drinking from a fire hose and not actually get anything meaningful done. So just be judicious about exploring things here. But if you want one way to get a bite-sized taste of some of the best ideas from Dan, from Nick, from Dr. Jeff, is go to the Guardian Academy. There's a syllabus, and the videos are generally just you know, under 10 minutes. And some of those ideas are great ways, and I will be referencing some of those ideas and videos in our time together, because you know, as Jerry was kind of alluding to, there's some leaders here that aren't famous. You know, they're not the Tony Robbins and the Amy Porterfields and the Jeff Walkers of the world, but they are doing amazing work, making a huge difference, and they're doing it largely under the radar, probably on purpose. So spend some time exploring at your leisure, but don't get sucked too far down any rabbit holes. And if you want recommendations, feel free to reach out to me or share what you're finding in the chat. If you have not,
Yes,
I'll go ahead, Jerry.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, about the Teach the Guardian Academy syllabus. You know, what it does is enable you to thrive and survive in the world of tomorrow. You know, that's the reflection that I, you know, got from it, from a personal perspective and from a business perspective as well.
Yeah, it's about the curriculum there is very much about personal efficacy, about empowering yourself to take responsibility, hold yourself accountable for your thoughts and deeds, your decisions. In the longer game that they are playing is to prepare you for navigating the world of Web3, the blockchain, and all that. But you know, I'm not in the Guardian Academy to become you know, a crypto trader or anything like that. I like the content there because it's about personal development. It's about becoming a better version of you. It's about leveling up and developing your promise and delivering on your potential. I do want to I'm going to share my screen and just share one quick thing about you know, when you arrive in Success Finder, the Art of Encore Living stuff is here. This is where the community announcements are, the community chat, and the legacy circle. So I posted quite a bit here already, but we'll be slowing down the tempo. But when you're looking for the next Zoom meetup and the link, it will be here. The community resources are just some things I put in there mostly to keep people busy while we were waiting for the calls to start. But there's the exercise from the book about the most important conversation you can have. This is the Venn diagram exercise. This is where you can access the book. And then if you are aspiring to or already have a coaching business, you might find, you know, these videos helpful. Again, be judicious about where you spend your time. If you are not getting notifications, you want to be sure to check your settings, and you get to decide if and how you're going to get updates when there's an announcement made or you're tagged in the group chat. So I prefer to have mine delivered by email. You can get it by text. You can do both, and of course you can do neither, but it's worth coming in here, setting up your profile, checking your settings, making sure that your settings are you know, the way that you want to get updates delivered to your inbox, if you want them delivered to your inbox or by text. All right, gang. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and land this plane so I can fuel up and get the next plane boarded. I will see a few of you probably on the next call, but for those of you that I will not see, we'll probably do the second meetup same time, same day. And would love to have us be brave and do a little small group discussion so that we can actually start to explore these ideas together. Before I let you go, Scott and Dylan, I don't know, and Nadine, I don't know if you're able to come on camera, but I would love to take a quick family photo if you're open to that. And if you prefer not to be photographed, and then there you go, Scott, you good looking devil, yeah. He's yelling at me, but he's muted.
Sitting here in my easy chair and eating lunch, so I didn't figure everybody needed to see that.
No worries, no worries. So Dylan and Jerry, if you guys can't be on camera, that's absolutely fine, but we're going to just
Yeah,
take a quick,
I'm sitting in the dark here, Scott. So
no worries. I sit in the dark all day, and even when it's light out. All right, let me take a quick photo. Everybody on 3, 1, 2, 3. I appreciate that. Great to have you all here. Stay in touch. See you next week. And if you have any questions or reflections to share with me, you can do that by email, scott@creativeonpurpose.com. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.